Across the tapestry of human history, a thread of mystery weaves through the fabric of our understanding. It is a shadow, a whisper, a presence felt rather than seen. It is the story of beings that exist on the fringes of our perception, creatures that defy classification, beings known by many names, but united by a single enigma. This is the story of Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, and the stories of those like him that stretch across the globe. Bigfoot sightings have been reported in areas such as North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, with its dense forests providing the perfect backdrop for such a creature to remain elusive. We begin not with concrete facts, but with the haunting realization that our world still holds secrets, spaces where the known fades into the unknown. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. The sounds of civilization fade away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the calls of unseen creatures. It is in these liminal spaces, where the boundaries between the known and the unknown blur, that the legend of Bigfoot takes root. Long before written records, before the arrival of settlers, the first inhabitants of North America spoke of a powerful being. It was not a god, nor a simple animal. It was Sasquatch, a creature of the forest, a guardian of the wild. These stories, passed down through generations, were not mere fables. They were a reflection of lived experience, a recognition of a presence that shared the land. Indigenous peoples across North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, have long spoken of creatures with human-like characteristics, some described as hair-covered giants, others as spirits or guardians of nature. The St'át'imc people of British Columbia, for instance, tell of a being they call Saskats, a powerful spirit who can shapeshift and disappear at will. They say he protects the forests and mountains, and those who respect him are granted safe passage through his domain. This folklore suggests Saskats as more than a simple creature. He is woven into the indigenous worldview as a supernatural being that embodies the mysterious and untamable forces of nature. The Hoopa tribe of Northern California has a similar tale of a hairy giant known as Omaha, which is said to live in the redwood forests. These creatures have been described in their lore as both elusive and enigmatic, often leaving behind massive footprints and being seen only in brief encounters. Some Hoopa elders recount a specific legend where Omaha assisted a lost child, guiding them back to safety, which reflects the duality of fear and respect attributed to these beings. Further inland, the Sioux people speak of a creature called Chiyetanka, a fearsome being with glowing eyes who roams the plains at night. Some scholars suggest that these creatures and their characteristics, large, elusive, and mysterious, reflect the fear and awe that the indigenous peoples felt towards the wilderness, which they often viewed as a realm where supernatural beings could reside. As the tide of European settlements swept across the continent, the stories of Sasquatch began to mingle with the narratives of the newcomers. These were not the romanticized tales of indigenous lore, but raw, often terrifying accounts of encounters in the wilderness. Trappers, miners, and pioneers spoke of large, hairy creatures, leaving behind tracks that dwarfed human footprints. In 1924, Albert Ostman, a Canadian prospector, famously claimed to have been kidnapped by a family of Sasquatch in British Columbia. His story became one of the most famous and controversial Sasquatch encounters. Ostman described being carried away by a group of these creatures, whom he described as surprisingly intelligent and strong. Their family dynamics and unusual behavior were unlike anything Ostman had encountered, leading him to believe that these creatures were sentient beings rather than simply animals. Another famous encounter occurred in 1924 at Ape Canyon in Washington state. Miners reported being attacked by rock-throwing creatures that seemed to possess great strength and agility. The creatures' behavior, hurling rocks at the miners' cabin, then retreating, led to a growing belief in the existence of large, unknown primates that lived in the remote forests of the Pacific Northwest. The consistency of these accounts from different regions and cultures sparked more interest and investigation into Bigfoot, though many mainstream scientists dismissed them as folklore or misidentification. In 1967, a moment captured on 16mm film would forever alter the narrative. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, two men on horseback in the wilds of Northern California, filmed what would become the most iconic piece of Bigfoot evidence, the Patterson-Gimlin film. The footage, shaky and brief, showed a large bipedal figure covered in dark hair walking through the forest. The creature, dubbed Patty, walked with a fluid, human-like gait, yet its proportions and musculature were unlike any known primate. Researchers have debated the authenticity of the film ever since. While skeptics argue that the footage is a hoax, suggesting it was a man in a suit, others point to the anatomical features of the creature, such as its distinct sagittal crest and muscle movements beneath its fur. These details continue to provoke debate in the scientific community, particularly when compared to the natural movement of both humans and other primates. The Patterson-Gimlin film remains a critical moment in Bigfoot research, serving as a symbol of both skepticism and belief. The film's legacy also led to the rise of Bigfoot hunters, enthusiasts, and researchers who dedicated their time to documenting evidence of Bigfoot, from footprints to hair samples. Despite no conclusive proof, the image of Patty continues to captivate both believers and skeptics alike. Beyond the film, the search for Bigfoot has yielded a collection of enigmatic clues. Footprint casts, large and often showing unique anatomical features, have been found in remote areas. These prints often exhibit a mid-tarsal break, which is an uncommon trait in known primates. Some casts also reveal dermal ridges, intricate patterns on the soles of the feet, suggesting that they may belong to a creature with a unique biology. Hair samples have also been collected over the years. While some samples have been shown to belong to known animals, others have presented unusual structures that defy easy identification. DNA analysis of some of these samples has produced inconclusive results, often pointing to a mix of known species, but never to a single identifiable creature. Vocalizations recorded by researchers in the wild often mimic deep howls or grunts, described as sounding similar to primate calls, yet not directly matching those of any known species. Some proponents of Bigfoot research argue that these vocalizations indicate a highly developed social structure and communication system, while skeptics dismiss them as the sounds of other wildlife or human hoaxes. The mystery of Bigfoot is not confined to North America. Similar creatures appear in folklore across the globe, suggesting a shared archetype in human culture. Beings that dwell in the wilderness, elusive and enigmatic. In the snowy heights of the Himalayas, the Yeti, often referred to as the abominable snowman, has been woven into the folklore of local cultures for centuries. Sherpas and mountaineers have long reported sightings of a large ape-like creature in the snow. The first documented Western sighting occurred in the 19th century, yet the creature remains deeply embedded in the myths of the region. Sherpas tell of an encounter with a Yeti on a mountain pass, where the creature briefly observed a young man before vanishing into the mist. In the Caucasus Mountains of Russia, the Almasty is another mysterious figure similar to Bigfoot. These wild men are said to roam the rugged terrain of the steppes, and various reports of encounters date back to the 19th century. In one famous story, a woman encountered an Almasty, only to later find that the creature had left her firewood neatly stacked, with a strange flower placed on top. A curious act of interaction that left the villagers perplexed. Meanwhile, in Australia, the yowie, often depicted in Aboriginal rock art, is a part of the country's indigenous folklore. Descriptions of the yowie vary, but common traits include a large, hairy, bipedal figure. Aboriginal stories, many passed down through generations, tell of the yowie's elusiveness and its ability to guide lost travelers to safety, a motif echoing those of the Sasquatch legends of North America. The scientific community, guided by the principles of empirical evidence, has been largely skeptical of Bigfoot's existence. The lack of a body, bones, or definitive DNA samples makes it difficult to validate claims. Many scientists argue that Bigfoot encounters are more likely the result of misidentification of known animals, such as bears or large primates, or hoaxes deliberately perpetrated by humans. Skeptics also point to psychological phenomena like pareidolia, the tendency to recognize patterns in random stimuli, explaining why blurry photos or fleeting glimpses might lead people to perceive an unidentified creature as Bigfoot. Despite these doubts, some researchers argue that the vastness of unexplored wilderness in regions like the Pacific Northwest still holds potential for undiscovered species. Whether Bigfoot exists or not, the legend continues to haunt the imagination. It speaks to our primal fascination with the unknown and our longing for the wilderness. The search for Bigfoot represents more than just the hunt for a creature. It is a journey into the uncharted territories of our world and minds. Researchers, adventurers, and storytellers continue to explore the deep forests and remote wildernesses in search of evidence, hoping to uncover the truth behind the shadow in the trees. The Bigfoot phenomenon reflects a broader human need to explore, to wonder, and to confront the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding.